everyone. Welcome back to RT Share Tea, where respiratory therapists live out loud. With me, your host, Linda Fry, the asthma lady. Yes. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to everybody new. Thank you all for the support. And I am excited for this episode because we have another guest co-host, and he is an RTpreneur. Yes. If you don't know what an RTpreneur is, it is a respiratory therapist with their own business. And Al is a legend in the asthma space. You guys know me as the asthma lady, but Al does things in the asthma space that blows my mind. So I'm super excited to have him. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna read his bio, and then I'm gonna let him do his thing. So hopefully I get it right. Okay, so Al Keith is a licensed and certified respiratory therapist. He is a graduate of the University of Chicago Respiratory Therapy Program and National Louis University, where he received his Bachelor of Arts degree in Allied Health. As a result of his passion for clinical and patient education, Al advanced to become the respiratory care house supervisor for pediatrics and coordinator of respiratory services for neonatology at the University of Chicago hospitals and clinics. In these positions, he was involved in the clinical education for respiratory therapists, nurses, patient care technicians, as well as the residents, fellow, staff physicians in the area of respiratory care. Al is also a certified asthma educator and an accomplished professional musician and vocalist with 55 years of experience. Al created CTK's innovative asthma education program, Asthma Blues, that utilizes the science of music and learning to address gaps in asthma knowledge. The music from Asthma Blues communicates the national guidelines for asthma management. Asthma Blues empowers people with asthma and their caregivers with evidence-based information, delivers key concepts that help them to manage asthma effectively, and equips them with the tools to keep asthma controlled. Al Keith's music-based educational work currently continues in the area of COPD and COVID. Al and TTK created music with a message that matters. I love it. Yes. Thank you so much, Al, for being our guest host. I'm so excited to have you here. You don't even know. Thank you, thank
Well,
you, thank you.
well, thank you for having me today. I really
Oh my
appreciate the
gosh. So
opportunity.
yes, I appreciate you so much. And I'm excited for you to share your story and your journey and your perspective on everything. So let's just jump right into it.
Mhm.
I usually ask everyone, we all have a story around what got us into the respiratory care field, and I'm interested to hear yours. Well, I've heard it before, but go ahead, you can share with us what got you into the field.
Well, what got me into the field was first what I might call maybe an unfortunate situation, but it was the premature birth of my daughter Adrian. She was born at 26 weeks, and that's early, of course. And her passing was what launched me into the field. She lived for 7 weeks in the NICU, and while I was in the NICU, uh, it was just one of those situations where no matter how sure you are of yourself and things that you know and can do,
Right,
when you can't do anything for, I couldn't do anything for Adrian, and I felt helpless.
right.
And so, with that being said, I don't want anyone to feel like that. So I decided at that point when she passed away, I was going to become a respiratory therapist, but not just a respiratory therapist, but specifically a neonatal respiratory therapist, so
Okay.
that I could stand in the gap for those parents that were in the NICU that may feel just like me, that there's things going on in the NICU that you don't know what's going on. There's alarms, there's mini codes going on at the
Oh,
bedside, and a lot of things. So um, that's what got me into it.
wow. And how amazing that you were able to turn your pain
Oh,
into empowering other parents, you know, that and
Yes.
making sure that they didn't experience the same thing.
Oh
Amazing.
yeah.
I love it already, Al. I was say you know I love your story. So okay. So now you're a respiratory therapist, and like you know, your bio said you're, you know, you in the supervisor position, and your career was, you know, flourishing in the management field. So what made you say, like, made you step out into the RTpreneurship where you like, I want to run my own business and create Asthma Blues? Tell me the story.
Well, there was a series of steps, and the series of steps started when I was still actually employed there at University of Chicago.
Uh,
If you know the asthma stats for Chicago, you know the asthma statistics for Chicago are pretty high, and
Right.
we had a pretty busy emergency room at U of C on Friday and Saturday nights,
Hmm.
and there was a lot of activity with kids coming in with asthma attacks and different things that we had to deal with. But I started thinking to myself, when I start to see what I call frequent flyers, if I've seen someone in with an asthma attack and it was pretty bad, I shouldn't see them 2 weeks later. I shouldn't see them again
Right.
that soon. So I started to think to myself, what are we doing?
Mm.
And when you ask the question, there's a question behind the question. And that
Okay.
question behind the question is, what are we not doing?
Okay.
The next question is, what could we do better?
Hmm.
And so as a result, I thought about it. You know, at the time, I was a respiratory therapist for 17 years, and this was 2005. I was, I'm thinking in 2005 was when I wrote the first asthma blues song, because I realized that being an RT for 17 years, but at that point, having been a musician for 38, those two
Hmm.
passions in my life were the things that
Okay.
I really love to do.
Right.
So why not do the things that you love to do that's going to help someone and could save a life?
Hmm.
So music and asthma education was born in the form of asthma blues.
I love
And it was a seven song CD. Was started as a CD. I'm
right.
dating myself because CDs are kind of,
Right. It's
but
okay.
it's digital now. It's digitally downloadable from my website. But to
Okay.
to get back to asthma blues, it's multi-genre music. So there's
Nice.
blues, there's country and western, there's hip hop, there's
Okay.
rock and roll, and there's
Nice.
reggae, all inside of those seven tunes. So they're different
Mhm.
types of music. So what we're serving up is a smorgasbord. We're serving up something for everyone. So if you like
Nice.
blues, we got some blues. If you like country and western, we got some of that. If you like hip hop, we got some of that. If you like reggae, we got some of that. So that's how it started. And I realized that music is a universal communicator.
Yes, it
So
is.
why not take the music and attach an educational message to it, but not just a message, but we want to attach an evidence-based message. The,
Correct.
the things that we put inside of the music are the things that you should hear when you go to your doctor's office or you go to your
Should
clinic
hear.
visit.
Yes.
You should hear.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, and this is not a criticism, it's just an observation.
Oh,
There
yes.
there's probably isn't enough time to do what we would call effective asthma education inside of that. So let's take that a step further in realizing that when you listen to music, music, um, music has an effect on so many parts of your brain. They've done studies where they've done PET scans and they show how the brain lights up with music.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start looking at those studies, you realize how music affects the brain, but music has the ability to store itself into memory. So now we figured out what it
Mm.
is we can do with music.
Okay.
And we've realized that if I've got these frequent flyers coming in every couple of weeks with the same thing, once again, here's that question. What are we doing? What are we not doing? What can we do
Mm-hmm.
better? So now we're going to introduce the same things that we want to teach them about symptoms, triggers, the medication. We want to introduce all of these things through the medium of music. And we got a good shot for those things that we're teaching them to stay into memory.
Right, right. It's a
And
lot
if,
of information, definitely.
yes, and you can sing those things. And how it started was really interesting. It started with one song.
Okay,
And I was at a charter school on the south side of Chicago, and I was really pointing this to fourth and sixth grade students.
okay,
But I ended up with K through 2.
okay, okay.
What they allowed me to do was work with the K through 2 because the fourth through sixth grade kids were in some arts and dance kind of thing.
Ah,
Because
okay.
there, yeah,
It
so
was a shift, a little
it was a
shift.
shift. And
Okay.
so I ended up with K through 2. So I thought to myself, okay, the book that I have, the text that I have is written on a fifth grade level. So we should be able to deal with that from the fourth through sixth grade. But they gave me K through 2. So I had 5 through 7 year olds. So the
Mm,
so the first thing I thought is that even though you might not be able to go through the text the way you would want to, the music is the key.
okay.
And
Understood.
these children that I work with, there's actually a YouTube video out there with me working with the kids at that point,
Okay.
and that YouTube video showed retention because
Nice.
I did the music with the kids, and I came back 6 months later, and these kids actually, when I came, they knew I was coming. They met me in the parking lot. They were out for recess and they
Okay.
saw me in the parking lot. They were, "Hey, there's Mr. Keith. That's Mr. Keith. You gonna play the music, Mr. Keith? You gonna play the music?" I said,
Oh,
"Yes, I'm gonna play the music." So when we got inside, the most amazing thing happened. These kids were able to retain the music, but not only that, the messages that were in the music in terms of taking their medication when they're supposed to.
mm-hmm.
Understand, and this is what blew me away. These kids between 5 and 7 years old, they understood the difference between your quick relief and your controller
Mm.
medication. And two of the kids, wait a minute, two of the kids could actually spell bronchoconstriction. Why? Because they studied it. They went home and found out about things, and they were trying.
Wow, look at
They,
that.
they were excited.
You piqued their interest. Yes.
They were excited. And
Yes, yes.
so my thing is when you see that light bulb come on, you never know what's going on inside of their head. But
Mm-hmm.
these particular kids were excited and they wanted to learn more. So they were able to go to the whiteboard and write bronchoconstriction. And
Nice.
when they spelled it right, I looked at it and I went,
I
"Oh
know. I
my
struggle
word."
sometimes with finding
And you got to understand how I felt because I
Oh,
said, I
no.
reached him. I got him.
Touches
I
the
got
heart.
him. I
Exactly.
got him. So, anyway, that's the beginning. The second song was written. The other 5 songs were written. And
Wow.
Asthma Blues was finished in 2007. And here's something that might blow you away. It was released exactly a month and a half before the EPR3 came out.
Look at that.
And the information that's in the EPR3 is in
The
Asthma Blues.
song. Come on. Al, you knew your stuff. You was ahead of the game.
Well, I don't know. You know, I think that it all goes back to having a purpose. And when you have your purpose, the things that you're
Exactly.
looking for
It will come, just
it will
come.
come. Yes.
Creatively, it will just
If
come to you.
if you're true to what you say you're true to, if you're true to that,
Exactly.
it'll come.
Exactly. You shine.
So,
Wow. I love it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
found you found like a gap and you creatively filled the space with your two passions. I love it.
But not only that, it was a joy because not only was I feeling like I'm helping somebody understand how to stay out of the emergency room, how to stay out of the hospital, how to manage asthma on a daily basis using the music, but
Right.
I was able to play my music and have a
Right.
great time. So having a great time creating was half of the payoff for
Of
me.
course.
I'm gonna be honest. I love playing, and like I said, I'm right now at this stage of the game. I've been a musician, vocalist, bassist vocalist for 55 years and an RT for 35.
Amazing.
So it's one of those things where you're comfortable in your skin, and my
Right.
skin is being a musician, composer, creator, educator. I'm comfortable. I love what I do.
Nice, nice, nice. I love it, love it, love it. So, and okay, so share now that we see like how you started, can you tell us like what was your, if any, what barriers you had in along this journey of creating Asthma Blues and being an RTpreneur?
Well, I think most people who are trying to create, they run into the barrier of people being able to accept change. Change is hard.
Change its heart.
Change is hard. And one of the barriers that I ran into was sometimes people will look at what you're doing and maybe not give it the full value and the full energy that you've actually put into it. And I guess to explain that, I'm saying they need to have a full understanding of what I'm presenting and not just make an assumption. For
Right.
example, someone will listen to my songs and say, "Oh, those are some nice cutesy songs." No, those songs have got the guidelines that you should follow to stay
Right.
out of the emergency room and to
Right.
stay out of the hospital. These are the guidelines that are written in. And if you listen to it, you'll start to see some of the same things that are they're in there. They're part of your asthma action
Right.
plan.
The guidelines are 600 pages long, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
know that.
Yeah. But see, the part and
Put
the
in the
part
song,
and the
cutesy.
yeah, and the part that I have focused in on is the part that says um, asthma education as a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that I focused in on. So that particular section, when we look at the EPR3, those things that are in the songs are in the EPR3. Also, I don't know if people are familiar with the GIP report, but that's the Guidelines Implementation
GIP.
Panel. So yeah, so the GIP, the GIP report came out after the EPR3. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what the Guidelines Implementation Panel did, they tried to figure out how are we going to use the EPR3 guidelines? So they're figuring out how to implement the guidelines. So the Guidelines Implementation Panel, they
Mm-hmm.
came out with
The key message, right.
six specific key messages, and Asthma Blues nailed 5 of the 6.
Look at that. You were ahead
And
of
it
the
was
game. That's what I said. You had it. They should have called you, Al.
well, I think the thing is that it just didn't, there was work and there was time. And here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. The the impetus and the things that got me to writing was listening to the patients.
Mm-hmm.
That's the importance of listening to your patients.
Right.
That's the importance of listening to them. For instance, if I was doing Asthma Blues, the first song I wrote was Asthma Blues, and the lyrics are, "I'm having trouble breathing, I'm coughing and I'm wheezing. It's hard to get my air in and out."
Right.
Chorus, "I'm in a battle I refuse to lose.
Nice.
I'm gonna get this under control. Then I can beat these asthma blues." So I'm listening to the patient. The patient saying, "I'm having trouble breathing. I'm coughing and I'm wheezing.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get my air in and out." How do you set that to music so that they say, "That's what's happening to me"?
Right.
So if I listen a little bit further, maybe he's going to tell me how to get around it. Misunderstanding my medication doesn't help with my
Mm-hmm.
inflammation. My airways just continue to swell. So that particular line is talking about the difference between your controller and your quick relief.
Right.
Misunderstanding my medication doesn't help with my inflammation. If you think you're going to use albuterol, you're not going to do anything for that inflammatory process.
Right.
So my airways just continue to swell. I'm in a battle I refuse to lose. I'm going to
Wow.
get this under control. So that's where asthma blues came from. It came from listening to the patient.
And let me tell you something. I think that type of stuff is easy. That is, the asthma guideline, the national guide is 600 pages long.
Oh, there's a lot there.
You to be able to take key messages from this thing and put it in cutesy songs
That's and see that
is a
that's the
challenge. Okay.
that's the yeah, but see that's the barrier I dealt with because
Uh,
people need to have a real understanding of what I'm presenting and not making an assumption that
right.
you already know what I'm doing or you already do this. I'm going to tell you something. One of the most dangerous phrases in our language,
I
and
already
this
know.
is what I've run into. When I presented what I presented, they say, "Oh, we're already doing that." And I go,
Mm,
I'm not going to
mm,
argue with you because that's not my style. That's not who I am. I'm not going to argue with you.
right.
But if we've always done it this way, that's the most dangerous phrase in our language. We've always done it this way.
Mhm.
But if we've always done
They've
it this
changed.
way and we can't expect, how can we expect a different outcome if we've always done
Exactly.
it this way?
Exactly.
So in order to create change, we have to do something a little bit different. And
Right.
my particular method, my particular answer was let's do it with music because
Let's do it
music is a
music.
universal communicator. You
Wow,
know,
I love it. Oh my gosh, you stood up. You stood up for your art and just delivering the message to people that need it in a way that it can be delivered to be enjoyable. Because
right?
let me tell you something. I am an asthma educator. I know it.
Yes.
Asthma education can be boring. It's like if you, I mean, you
Yeah.
have to present it in a way where it's like I call it edutainment. It's like you gotta kind of distract them with entertainment, but you're also educating them. So to me, this is a form of quality edutainment because it's evidence based. Come
Evidence
on
based.
now.
And I constantly tell people before I do anything, before I do any program or I'm doing an asthma class or any asthma education, I preface that by saying, look, we're going to have fun. This ain't going to be your normal this
You
ain't going to be
understand what I'm saying? I
this
tell
ain't going to
everybody that
be
too. Oh
yep.
look, are we the same person? I prep
Yep.
before I do my thing. I say, listen, we're gonna have a good time.
Good
Trust me.
time. That's right.
You're not even gonna feel like you're
No.
learning.
No. And if you
Because
feel like standing up and you feel like clapping with the song, if you feel
oh,
like dancing, if you hear the song, sing it. Because when you sing it, it's going to get
it's
buried
gonna
in
stick.
your memory. It's going to stick there. And you can
Mm,
tell somebody else about it. You can show somebody else.
love it,
Um,
love it,
you
love
know,
it.
in the interesting time that we were doing we're doing Zoom, there's some times when kids have been on and their parents are listening in on well what are they doing on Zoom, let me monitor this and see. And parents, grandparents, Mr. Keith, I really like those blues, that's really good. And I hear
So
that
they
message
learning
in there,
too.
about that asthma.
Hmm.
And I'm being facetious in a way. I'm being a little bit comical, but I have been told many times by people older than me that they like what I'm doing, but not only that, they may be the ones that has to take that kid to the they have
Right.
to
It
be the
takes a
one to take that
village.
kid
It
to the
does.
emergency room
It
to get that
does.
going. And so there's a lot here, and I know we're going to be short on time,
Yes, yes,
but
but no, this is good because you truly answered the question and yes, we all know doing anything new is a challenge and folks
yes,
fight it. But if you have the passion, and you're just you're able to stand up for yourself, your art, your creativity, and you know why you're why you have it. then you just continue to push forward and it will happen. I believe it. And I want to say you answered a little bit of that question, but what advice would you have for another respiratory therapist or another healthcare professional that wants to start their own creative business in the healthcare field?
I guess I could sum it up with a question that says, what gets you excited?
Yeah.
What gets you excited? What makes you smile? What can you take and touch somebody's else, touch some other lives with it, touch somebody else with this message? And if that gets you excited, go for it.
Mm.
That's what and then I heard something a long time ago. And when I was working with Asthma Blues, when I started, someone told me, if you don't do it, who's going to do it? Because this particular message is unique to you. This is yours to have.
It's yours.
And then someone else told me, if you don't build it, you don't build your dream, somebody will hire you to build theirs.
Ah, you're a bright man now. You
I don't know
dropping
how
some
bright I
gems.
am. I just know, I listen to the old school formulas. I listen to people who are senior to me because they can tell me things that I won't see until I get to their stage of life. But I listen to them because they're imparting wisdom. They're telling me things that I won't see until I get to that point where they are. So I cash in on that a little bit earlier and say, hey, let me listen. But I like to talk to people like that.
I hear you. I hear you, Al. But thank you so much for that, Al. And oh, this is your time to plug away. Plug what you got going on. Plug what's new. Tell us where to reach you. What you got going on. What's happening now?
Well, I mentioned the Asthma Blues first CD,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if it's backwards or whatever. It looks like it's
I
backwards.
see it.
It's
I see it.
perfect. Okay. So this is the first Asthma Blues, and this particular Asthma Blues CD and this book is the text that goes with the book.
Mm-hmm.
These were the materials that were used for the Asthma Blues study at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago. The thing that's near and dear to my heart is that there was a study done with these materials, the music in the book, and it showed a 58% increase in asthma knowledge and self-management skills.
Amazing.
The
Nice.
thing that was so cool about it is the RT department did the study. So RTs, are you listening? Here's
Uh-huh.
something that you can use. Here's something that's fun. Here's something that's not only fun, but it's evidence based.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an opportunity. Get in touch with me. I'm at CTK Clinical at sbcglobal.net. My website is www.asthma blues. Real simple. www.asthmablues.com. Now, after Asthma Blues 1 came out and was born, I had a hankering to keep rolling. Asthma Blues 2 came out, and inside of Asthma Blues 2, we attack some other things that deal with respiratory management, respiratory care. And some of the songs that were on there are What's Your Plan, which deals with your asthma
That's my
action
action
plan.
plan.
What's your plan? Everybody needs
Mm-hmm.
a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no joke. Breathing secondhand smoke. And so
Okay.
we talked about how secondhand smoke affects a lot of different people in different ways. Take care. Take care of your lungs. They will take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want no Anna. This particular song deals with anaphylaxis. And this was very important to a lot of the different school nurses that I talked to.
Right. That's true.
They jumped right on this don't want no Anna because it talks about anaphylaxis. It
Yeah.
talks about having your epi
EpiPen.
nearby and
Mm-hmm.
those things that are important. Get a PFT. The next song talks about pulmonary function testing. Just take control, asthma control. And here's a song on here called A Good Set of Lungs. That's a really interesting song because I had a friend of mine who, when we were kids, we played baseball together. We loved baseball. And his name was Hank. Hank would always kind of get lost when we were heading to the baseball field. And we'd look for Hank, and he was sitting back there, and he had lit up a cigarette and was smoking. And we used to tell him, Hank, you need to leave them cigarettes alone. They're not going to mean you any. And the way we said it, it's not going to mean you any good in the long run, Hank. Leave them cigarettes alone. But I was playing a gig in Nashville. And I'm sitting up there playing my bass and singing. And I looked out in the audience and I saw this guy sitting out there. He looked like somebody I knew, but I wasn't sure. And we kept staring at each other. And he's sitting out there and he's got an oxygen tank and a cannula. And I'm looking at him and I go, I know this guy. I don't know. He looked at me and our eyes locked. And he knew I was Al and I knew he was Hank. And so I ended up writing that song because I told him to not smoke those cigarettes when we were 12.
Right.
And he ended up smoking all his life. And now he's got COPD.
COPD.
And he's sitting out there with an oxygen tank and a cannula. So I wrote a song for him called A Good Set of Lungs. And it's a good set of lungs. It's like money in the bank.
Look
If
at
you
that.
don't believe me, just
Ain't that
ask
the
my
word?
buddy Hank. And these are the words. But this is a song that's on there called A Good Set of Lungs. And so those are
Okay.
the things that really kind of are important to me. And here's the COPD notebook. This is
Okay.
the brand new release.
Nice.
And the
Okay.
COPD notebook definitely has a good set of lungs. I had to repeat that one on the COPD notebook because
Okay.
that was
So
for Hank.
I can put that in the description of the video, whatever. I'll put your website in the description for everything where they can find this
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Al.
And that's
Yes,
the Asthma Blues.
amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Al, for being a guest co-host and for sharing your perspective on RT Share Tea podcast. This has been amazing, amazing, amazing. I love every moment of it. And you dropped so many gems, and hopefully there were others that learned from us today. All right, guys. So that's all the time we have today. I wish I had more time to speak with Al, but hopefully he'll come back to be a guest co-host again in the future. But yes,
I'd
guys.
love to.
Oh
I'd
my
love to.
gosh, thank you so much, Al. You're amazing. Just to let you guys know that I am speaking at RT Navigators Pulmonary Health Spring Seminar in April 12th. If you need any CEUs, it comes with 6 CEUs, it's virtual. I'm the opener and I will be speaking on asthma, as we all know. So yes, guys. So thank you again for joining us. We are here on most podcast platforms on Wednesdays, and we are on YouTube on Thursdays, guys. And I hope you learned something here today. And I just want to say to remember to invest in yourself and to only compete with yesterday's version of you. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.